This video is the most important thing that I've learned about social anxiety, and I feel like if you can really let this in, it may be perhaps one of the most important things that can accelerate the healing process. So I remember like a long time ago going through a self-improvement phase. Well, when I say long time ago, it was a couple of years ago. And you can see behind me, if I on the side here, I've got all these people like David Goggins, Jocko Willink, Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan. Some of my audience, young men, you guys will know who they are, but some of you might not know them. But basically, they're self-improvement people. Or at least that's how my mind interpreted them at the time. They may not be. And so much of our culture is set up to improve the self, improve ourselves. And the unfortunate byproduct of that is that we fundamentally take on the belief that there is something wrong with me. So then when we translate that over to social anxiety, we feel anxious in social situations. So we turn to things like self-help, and we miss the fundamental belief underneath that there is something fundamentally wrong with me. And I've got a lot of evidence to confirm that because I'm feeling so uncomfortable in social situations when nobody else appears to be. So I've got to fix myself. And that's what happened with me personally is I went on a big self-help and spiritual, improvement phase. Well, I can remember after on one of my 10-day retreats, right? I just finished the meditation and it was like the worst experience in the world. I just finished the meditation. It was like day 9. And I was actually relishing the fact that I didn't have to engage with people. I know after the fact, everyone was so excited. They're like, I'm going to go talk with everyone. I'm going to go talk. I couldn't wait to speak with people. But I remember on the meditation retreats, I was like, well, fuck, I don't want to speak to people again. Because I could feel all the repressed emotion that the meditation was bringing up. And then I had to go and converse with other people. So I remember like walking down to the main lobby area, like walking step by step and seeing the people off in the distance and then just feeling like the weight of the world on my shoulders. And I'm like, man, now I got to go talk to these people. And I did. And I remember I put on like a spiritual front, like, yeah, guys, a meditation retreat. It was so good, right? Right. While feeling really anxious underneath it. Trying to use all these techniques and being as gung-ho as I can about healing myself and fixing myself, because the fundamental belief, again, that was obscured at that time was that there's something wrong with me. So, more recently, the most important piece that I've sort of come across is that of acceptance of who and what I am. Now, that might sound really flat. That might sound really dry. It might sound like, yeah, okay, I've fucking heard that one before. Like social anxiety, and I've just got to accept the fact that I'm socially anxious. And I would have said the exact same thing a long time ago. And I'm like, yeah, okay, even if I just accept the way that I am, the very next social situation that I go into, it's just gonna, I'll just succumb to my old conditioning and patterns. Which may very well be the case. You might actually do that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. But the thing is the social matrix is conditioned to be deeply inauthentic. It's like we're actively choosing to be inauthentic in social situations. Like we talk about the weather and we talk about how, oh, I had this crazy thing happen to me. But then underneath it, we're like really sad and depressed and anxious, and we conceal it behind 50,000 shades of grey. Don't know why that turned into a 50 Shades of Grey reference, but it did. So there you go. It did. Because there's so much conditioning out there that basically like people look like they have it together. As we keep doing the spiritual work, we open up our sensitivity. Our sensitivity dials outwardly. And we start feeling more and more of the world. Whether or not we feel other people's emotions or whether or not we feel our own emotions in any given moment doesn't matter, because there's no separation. So even if we're feeling really contracted and uncomfortable in a social situation, when we use things like, oh, I'm feeling their energy, It's just another way that we're trying to land somewhere. But fundamentally what it comes back to is how much acceptance can I bring to this experience, and authenticity can I bring to this experience, and how much love can I give the most uncomfortable and unpleasant sensations in social situations, and be willing to see my beliefs and agendas that I'm bringing into it. If you imagine you're in a social situation and you're speaking with somebody, and you're feeling those familiar patterns that come online, and you're noticing all of the subtle little ways that your mind throws yourself into mind identification. Like the mind might say things like, oh, what are they thinking of me? Oh, can they see how anxious I am? Oh, am I making too much eye contact? Like, oh, can they see that I'm uncomfortable or something like that? It's like, the socially anxious mind is so conditioned habitually to then believe that thought, which then on-ramps us into mind identification and thinking that we're broken. But the litmus test of how much we're accepting experience is like, no matter how shitty we start to feel, or no, even if we do get lost in mind identification, how quickly can we reel it back in? Reeling sounds too rigid. Probably something like how softly can we acknowledge in our experience that, hey, I'm okay exactly the way I am in this situation. Even if people are like all acting popular and like they're all acting all happy and shit, but you're feeling the weight of the world, because I know how intense social angst can be. Like I've had days where it's brought me to my knees. Like I've had a day at the workplace and I'm feeling so much pain in the world from working with people with disabilities, and then like arguments between staff, and I can feel it all. And I come home and I just need to lay on the fucking ground and just like cry or shake off uncomfortable emotion because it's so uncomfortable. But those are the exact moments where we need to be bringing that acceptance to the experience. Because what else are we going to do? We're going to bring on a victim mindset and say, why me? Oh, why am I so sensitive? And I take on so much of the pain of the world, and why I've been trying to get over this for so long. That's a victim mindset. We have to just soften into whatever is happening in the thisness, the right here-ness. And especially when we're in social situations, and just be so vigilantly compassionate towards ourselves that even when we're getting lost in mind identification, even if we fall back into habitual patterns, we reel it back in with that acceptance. Again, let's use that word again. It's like softening back into acceptance. And then if we are reeling it in and we're being rigid, like, oh, I watched that video on YouTube and they said I have to just accept, and I wasn't fucking accepting. It's like, can we be soft with that as well and give that compassion as well? Yes, there is room for shadow work. Yes, there is room to integrate these emotions. That's also very important in my opinion. But ultimately, the creme of the crop in terms of insight is radical acceptance of what is. And I hope just sharing it in that way comes at it through a different lens for you and lands a little bit differently, so that maybe even if you go out into the next social situation and you crumble under your familiar conditioning, just maybe you can recalibrate to the right here and right now and just accept whatever's arising in your experience. And then hopefully that will permeate into your next social encounter after that. And then even more, and then even more, until you're so unconditionally loving and accepting the lost children of your experience that, to use that analogy that I think I didn't finish off earlier on in the video, it's like we have little children within us that are resisting experience. And what we're so habitually doing is we're pushing them away. Like we start feeling anxious, and then we have that little inner child that is like coming at us like, please, I just want your attention. Please just give me your love. Just give me your attention with acceptance. And then we're like, no, fuck you. Get away from me. Get in the corner. Go to your room. I need to put on this front and pretend that I'm experiencing something that I'm not. And that is, again, can be accepted, because like even that in and of itself, you could say, is a child that's like pushing away the other child. They're having a battle. And but it's like, hey guys, come here. It's okay. you can be here, both of you. Simple, but hard to put into practice, but easy at the same time. Don't overcomplicate it. Much love to you.